that wine, is super hands-on. I mean, it's delicious. That's about as geeky as it gets because that's like single vineyard, single grower, single clone.
Today we're here with Ben Parsons, winemaker behind The Ordinary Fellow in Palisade, Colorado. Ben, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's talk about wine. Let's talk about their flavor profiles. Let's talk about the different bottles you offer.
Yeah, so the sparkling wine, that's a Blanc de Noir, so that's 100% Pinot Noir. That's about as geeky as it gets because that's like single vineyard, single grower, single clone of Pinot Noir. Um, like entourage for like only 8 months. The base one was barrel aged for about 6 months, and then it was entourage lying on its yeast lees in a bottle for 6 months, and then it's like put on a riddling rack and hand riddled one bottle at a time, and then disgorged by hand. Just take the top off, put your thumb over the top of it, so nothing comes out. And then no dosage. So again, just super geeky, like really bone dry, like really crisp, great acid. So that wine, is super hands on. I mean, it's delicious. It still gets those more like developed kind of like brioche notes. Texturally, it's very pleasing on the palate. So I think we make really good Method Champenois bottle fermented sparkling wine. A lot of people like these days like think it's trendy to not like Chardonnay, because they heard somewhere about that. But there are actually some really good Chardonnays out there, which aren't all aged in new French oak and haven't all gone through like a creamy, buttery secondary fermentation. And I think mine is one of them. It was aged in like 8-year-old barrels, so there's really no oak influence on it at all. It was, it's all hand harvested, all whole cluster pressed. I think that wine has a really pretty texture, like this palate coating texture, but it has really good acidity and it smells like a ripe peach or a dried apricot. I mean, it's really pretty. Our Pinot Noir, like our red Pinot Noir, again, that spent just 9 months in neutral barrels. So no, I think there was a trend like 20 years ago to put everything in a brand new barrel, and all winemakers thought it was cool. But in the last 5, 6 years, I think that has changed, and winemakers are really trying to kind of let the soil and let their vineyards kind of speak for themselves, and so like minimal kind of intervention to a certain extent, is kind of is the trend. And yeah, our Pinot Noir has done really well. It's much lighter on the style. I would say it's more like a German style Pinot Noir, like lighter, um, really good acidity, firm tannin. Yeah, beautiful aroma. Yeah, I mean, I think all of our wines are just very well balanced, um, and not overly done, very food friendly. Uh, yeah, and just very clean, I would say. Like they're not funky at all, and I'm very proud of that.
I agree with both actually. Whether it's the sparkling, the Pinot Noir, I'm a huge Chardonnay fan. This is so much fun. We're talking with the Ordinary Fellow owner and winemaker Ben Parsons out there in Colorado, at the Palisade, Colorado. I'm assuming balance and the clean is a style choice by you. And how do we achieve that? Because I think a lot of people do like it currently. So, what is your secret to achieving, from a style point of view, from a winemaking point of view, that good balance and that clean approach?
Well, I think the balance is easy because it's kind of done in the vineyard, where because of the elevation and the retention of acidity. So it's really then it's just about when you pick it. So you're tasting it like, and you're tasting it for flavor and like phenolic ripeness and the seeds being brown, etc. But you're also kind of testing a few and now like the pH, titratable acidity and your sugar levels. And so then you kind of make an informed decision as to when you're picking it. So I think the balance part is fairly easy. The cleanliness part of it really just comes down to the fact that I feel like winemakers, even though this doesn't sound very romantic, you're almost just like an insurance manager in that you don't want to mess it up. Like, so you make decisions, informed decisions preemptively, like, and yes, you top your barrels like every 2 or 3 weeks, like you do things to make sure the wine does not end up flawed through like a secondary characteristic developing that some people would sometimes that's a flavor enhancer and sometimes that's good, but when it's overdone,
Mm.
and I believe there are a lot of wines that get away with it these days. To me, it's just bad winemaking. Like, and so I'm definitely kind of minimal intervention, but if you consider topping your barrels intervention, then I there's no hope for you.
Fair enough. So the two things I want to bring up that we didn't really touch on when it comes to the bottles themselves. I don't know if you agree, but I always feel like white wine doesn't get enough love and respect. People love talking about the complexities of reds. And so I'm going to bring up one white and one red that we really didn't touch on yet, because I just want to bring their taste pearls out as well. You make a phenomenal Riesling, and I don't think we touched upon that. And Petit Verdot is probably lesser known, certainly less popular, but it deserves all the love anyway.
Yeah.
So talk about the Riesling that you sent, talk about the Petit Verdot, and what makes them special, and what's the taste profile?
Yeah, interestingly, like I really don't drink red wine anymore. Like occasionally I'll drink some Pinot Noir, but I I much prefer drinking white wines. Like it's just I think, and I think a lot of people in the industry are like that because they like crave acidity, you know. Um, and so yeah, my Riesling is a good example. I mean, I think a lot of I think the general kind of consumer in the US still thinks that all Rieslings are sweet. And I think that's just a common misconception, like that's purely a stylistic choice from the winemaker. And my choice is to allow the yeast to ferment all of the sugar until there is no residual sugar and to have a wine with high natural acidity that pairs well with food. And so that's my choice as a winemaker. And those are the wines that I enjoy most, that kind of just leave your palate just like this rasping acidity. Take the enamel off your teeth, like, and but have like beautiful aroma. And I think our Riesling is starting to show some kind of developed Riesling characteristics from being in the bottle for like 18 months, where it gets those kind of, it's tough to say it without making it sound bad, but those more kerosene kind of petroleum kind of eraser-like notes, which are very typical of Riesling, kind of intertwined with really nice citrus and green apple and yeah, and like really just good structure. So that's the Riesling, and I think that benefits from growing at elevation here for sure. And then, yeah, Petit Verdot, interesting, like one of the 6 red Bordeaux grape varieties. Bordeaux is maritime climate. It's much cooler than Colorado. It doesn't really get the chance to ripen as well as it does here. And so when it can ripen, it doesn't just need to get blended into Cabernet Sauvignon or something to just give it more tannin and more structure. Here it can stand alone as a single varietal. The greenness is gone. The tannin is not like just rip your face off tannin. It's well developed, like silky, velvety. I mean firm, but not like really really drying like Petit Verdot can be. And yeah, just like the aromatics are very lifted on it. and it's not. I don't think you would say it's a massive red wine by any means. So that's grown at a vineyard about half an hour from Box Bar called Canyon of the Ancients, and that vineyard was planted in 2006. And yeah, unfortunately, we only made about nine. I think we made 99 cases of that wine. So yeah, not that much of it. But yeah, really, really nice wine. It's fun to introduce people to wines that they probably haven't heard of. But wines that, a wine that can stand up to any like good red wines that you may have heard of.